I never gave you any keychain. Aunt Beatrice's words brought total quiet to the room. She refused to glance in my direction. Her gaze locked coldly and fiercely on my dad, Richard. I purchased the title to the $1.2 million downtown penthouse for Jessica, she declared, gesturing toward the inexpensive bit of metal clutched in my fingers. So explain this to me, Richard. Why is your own daughter stuck at the children's table clutching a cheap $5 bauble? While Caitlin occupies the residence I funded. Caitlin let her wine glass slip. It shattered violently. The noise rang out sharply in the hushed space like a pistol shot. My dad parted his lips to respond, yet he seemed to struggle for air. Beatrice rose, bending forward across the table. Hand over the keys, Richard. Immediately. Before I reveal the true name listed on that title and what happened when law enforcement showed up, leave a comment below. What's the worst poisonous act a relative ever pulled on you over the holidays? I need to feel I'm not the only one. For a moment, the sole noise was the low buzz from the fridge. Then Caitlin let out a laugh. It came out sharp and fragile, resembling glass crushed beneath a boot. Oh, please, Aunt Beatrice, she remarked, flicking her perfectly groomed hand. You've clearly drunk too much. You're mixing things up for everybody. That place is just leased. Dad is fully aware. Isn't that right, Dad? She turned toward my father, Richard, her stare wide and desperate. She was pleading for him to build the falsehood on her behalf, exactly as he'd done countless times before. And he attempted it. He genuinely tried. He got to his feet, dabbing his lips with a napkin, striving to reclaim command of his flawless holiday meal. Beatrice, now isn't appropriate, he stated, tone quiet, yet firm. Financial topics can wait. Don't spoil the night. Spoiling the night, that had forever been his chief concern. Never honesty, never fairness, only the illusion of harmony. I held back from yelling. I refrained from overturning the table. A peculiar icy sharpness settled over me. It felt like a final link breaking apart. I rose from the small table, sliding my metal chair backward. Return to your seat, Jessica, my stepmom Monica whispered harshly. I paid no attention. I moved beyond the main dining area, beyond the roasted bird, beyond Caitlin's frightened grin. I grabbed the controller for the massive 85-inch screen hanging over the mantel. My dad purchased it recently. Another gadget he insisted he couldn't spare money for when I asked for rent assistance. Jessica, set that down, my father ordered. I stayed silent. I retrieved my cell phone. Aunt Beatrice had granted me entry to the connected home setup mere minutes before dinner began. I pressed the display once, send to screen. The fake fireplace video disappeared from view. A crystal-clear panoramic camera stream replaced it, flooding the space. It showed the penthouse, my penthouse. Sound followed instantly, heavy beats and wild shouts. The main area brimmed with guests. I spotted several of Caitlin's social media acquaintances. A man balanced atop the white stone countertop wearing shoes, dousing the area with sparkling wine. A woman used a card to arrange powdery lines across the transparent table. Yet the most upsetting sight was the couch. My dad's classic white hide couch, the one he'd lent Caitlin claiming it was temporary. A lady in crimson poured wine across it, giggling while dark blotches bloomed like bullet holes over the spotless surface. Whoops, the woman on camera yelped. Caitlin's father will murder us! Who cares? The man atop the island shouted in reply. Her father covers every expense regardless. Inside the dining space, quiet reigned completely. Caitlin's complexion turned ghostly pale. She gaped at the display, observing her hidden existence shown in ultra-high detail to those she'd manipulated for so long. Shut it down, she howled, lunging from her seat. Shut it off immediately. That's confidential. Confidential? I replied evenly. It isn't confidential, Caitlin. It's evidence of wrongdoing. I turned toward my father. He stared fixedly at the screen, mouth agape, watching the man kick an ornament from the edge. It smashed apart. Dad, I stated, pay attention. That belongs to me. Those are your valuables getting wrecked. I touched my phone once more, opening the call screen. And for your information, I added, raising the device so everyone could view the digits. I've already contacted emergency services. I left before any officers reached the dining area. I exited. Aunt Beatrice trailed after me, her shoes tapping briskly along the pavement. We climbed into my worn-out car, the vehicle Caitlin always avoided because it carried the scent of struggle. I started the ignition, as the motor coughed awake. The rush that powered my outburst started fading into something firmer, something resembling frost. I headed toward the city center, toward the penthouse. My grip remained, firm on the steering wheel. Yet my thoughts wandered, not forward to the clash awaiting. They traveled backward, particularly to 90 days earlier, to 2 a.m. on an ordinary Tuesday. The odor hit me first, Stale alcohol, luxury scent, bile. My phone buzzed during the night. It was Dad, Jessica. Head over to the apartment. His tone sounded panicked. Caitlin's cleaner left. She's got a shoot tomorrow. The space is wrecked. She's losing it. Please, go assist your sibling. I complied, because that role defined me. The problem solver, the cover-up artist, the person summoned whenever the favored one created chaos she couldn't charm away. I recalled kneeling on the identical pale stone surface I'd viewed via camera. I scoured a crimson spill from a light carpet using soda and a small brush. Caitlin perched on the ledge, consuming yogurt, browsing her feed. No gratitude escaped her lips. She barely acknowledged me. She merely gestured with her utensil and remarked, "You overlooked an area near the couch. If it stays visible, you'll cover the cost." I glanced upward, knees throbbing, vision stinging from exhaustion. "Caitlin, I need to reach my job in 4 hours." "Then leave," she dismissed. "No one forced you to move so sluggishly." I yearned to shout. I yearned to hurl the cloth. Yet I continued. I persisted in cleaning. For so long, I convinced myself it stemmed from being dependable, from being the elder sibling. But that was false. I persisted because they conditioned me to view my quiet compliance as payment for belonging here. I believed sufficient cleanup, sufficient endurance of slights, sufficient utility would earn my father's approving gaze, the one reserved for her. I believed submission bought entry to affection. Any bond I imagined purchasing through effort proved counterfeit. They valued me not for repairs. They valued the convenience of repairs without effort. To Richard, I wasn't offspring. I was unpaid maintenance staff. "Jessica," Aunt Beatrice murmured gently from the seat beside me, drawing me to now. "Your knuckles are pale from squeezing so tightly." I relaxed my hold. The urban horizon appeared ahead. The structure, my structure, rose above surrounding buildings. A tower of reflective panels and metal. 90 days prior. I knelt, wiping someone else's sickness from flooring I couldn't tread freely. I pleaded silently for approval. I existed as a shadow in my existence. Yet this evening, I increased pressure on the accelerator. The motor growled, stronger than internal uncertainty. They shattered me earlier. They conditioned my silence. Yet they overlooked that forcing someone to erase messes over 2 decades teaches precisely where secrets lie buried and how to eliminate refuse. "I'm okay, Aunt Beatrice," I responded, my tone level and composed. "I'm simply checking my real estate." I stopped at the building's entrance, brakes squealing on pavement. I skipped the attendant. I flung the keys toward the surprised entrance guard and dashed for the lifts. Aunt Beatrice kept pace, displaying agility surprising for her years. Trouble registered before the lift opened at the top level. I heard it. No longer music's pulse. Instead, ruinous clamor. The moist crack of breaking panes. Ripping cloth. Piercing, repeated cries from someone unhinged. I emerged into the corridor. The entrance stood fully ajar. No forced entry. It had been unlocked. My gut sank. Realization struck instantly. My father. He possessed a backup physical key. He likely handed it over long ago for emergencies like network failure. I crossed the threshold and briefly nausea threatened. The space exceeded disorder. It faced deliberate obliteration. Caitlin occupied the room's center. She gripped a solid brass sculpture, a modern work Dad acquired in Italy. She lifted it high and smashed downward onto the transparent center table. It burst into countless sparkling fragments. "It belongs to me!" She howled, swinging once more, this time targeting wall units. "All of it belongs to me!" She sought no recovery of possessions.
No gathering of items. She aimed to devastate everything. I observed her yank delicate drapes from supports, tearing sections of wallboard along. I watched her seize a bottle of crimson liquid and whirl, flinging it across pale surfaces, pale flooring, pale seating. It resembled slaughter. An ordinary observer might see madness. They might label it a meltdown. But studying Caitlin's pupils enlarged, perspiration plastering strands to skin, I recognized another phenomenon. I recognized the extinction surge. In psychology of learning, an extinction surge occurs when reinforcement ceases abruptly. When the animal presses futilely, it intensifies effort. It assaults surroundings. It vocalizes furiously. For over 2 decades, Caitlin's mechanism relied on playing helpless. Tears earned vehicles. Outbursts earned vacations abroad. Shortcomings earned luxury dwellings. Tonight marked the initial occasion the mechanism failed. No reward. No admiration. Merely barriers and emptiness. Thus she assaulted the enclosure. "Caitlin," I stated. My tone remained steady, yet distant, as though submerged. She whirled. She appeared unhinged. Black streaks traced her cheeks. She aimed the jagged bottle neck toward me. "This is your fault," she wailed. "You envious, hideous witch. You wrecked my image. Do you grasp how many people message me now? They label me fake." "You are fake," I answered. "This residence belongs to me." She drove her foot into plaster. "If I'm barred, no one occupies it. I'll reduce it to filth. I'll guarantee permanent stench." She dashed to the cooking ledge and cleared it violently, sending luxury glassware tumbling. It appeared as though victory in securing ownership came at the cost of preserving the dwelling. Harm reached disastrous levels. Tens, perhaps hundreds of thousands. Surfaces ruined. Pieces wrecked. Furnishings trashed. My legacy vanished before my eyes. I glanced toward Aunt Beatrice. She lingered near the entrance, complexion drained, palm covering lips. She watched me, anticipating action. To restrain her. To halt further loss. Yet I remained still. I avoided advancing to seize the object from her grasp. I refused to negotiate with chaos. I simply observed. I permitted the fixture's destruction. I permitted upholstery slashing. I permitted escalation until escape became impossible. "Finished yet?" I inquired, tone slicing past crashing sounds. Caitlin gasped for air. Chest rising rapidly. She surveyed the wreckage, and briefly. A spark of satisfaction flashed. She believed she wounded me. She believed she demolished my reward. She failed to grasp she forged the restraints soon encircling her. I remained framed in the opening, frame chilling my arm. I stayed outside. No necessity existed. Ruin reached completion. Beyond ruined gathering. It constituted total erasure. Caitlin panted amid debris, breathing labored, gaze frantic. She anticipated intervention. Anticipated pleas to cease. Anticipated shared frenzy confirming her outburst. Instead, I withdrew my device. I skipped contacting Dad. I skipped contacting stepmom. I entered emergency digits. "State your issue?" "I must report ongoing major property destruction," I declared evenly. "I own this location. The trespasser remains inside. She actively damages contents using a solid item." Caitlin stiffened. The sculpture dangled limply. "You're summoning authorities?" She mocked, though uncertainty crept in. "Against family?" "Seriously. You overreact. Dad handles everything. My location, 4500, Skyline Boulevard. Top floor suite 4B. I proceeded, disregarding. "Affirmative." She wields a weighty metallic piece. She shows signs of intoxication. "I'm perfectly sober." Caitlin yelled. She released the object. It struck dully on soiled flooring. "End the call. Jessica, stop immediately." The lift announced arrival. Doors parted. My father, Richard, staggered forth. Breathless. Face flushed and damp. He likely bypassed staff. He spotted me in the passage. Device at ear. He noted the ajar entrance. He witnessed interior chaos. "Jessica," he panted, clutching my limb. "Stop. I beg you. Disconnect." "Units en route," the operator stated. "Remain connected." "Dad," I replied, freeing myself. "Observe your child." Richard peered beyond. He viewed Caitlin amid fragments and exposed walls. He viewed crimson trails down surfaces like wounds. He viewed total devastation of a high-value holding. Caitlin howled I destroyed her existence. Yet surroundings contradicted her. Sirens neared. and Dad pleaded to frame it as error. He repeated her youth, mere objects, permanent harm to reputation. I stated reality. She created this outcome. Authorities reached us. I presented documentation and pressed accusations. Dad attempted interference. Warning of family severance if pursued. I felt indifferent for once. I instructed removal from premises. Caitlin endured restraints, wailing. Dad brandished payment method, desperate to resolve. Until Aunt Beatrice presented documentation, $200,000 structural harm. Then she revealed the decisive item. The co-signing contract he executed, binding him financially for every amount. He gazed at the document as though condemned. He murmured intent to support. Yet facilitation breeds obligation, not aid. And payment arrived. Caitlin departed in custody. Dad collapsed, terrified of total loss. I informed him directly. Full responsibility rested on him. And he fulfilled it. Liquidating holdings. Depleting savings. Issuing payments personally. 3 weeks afterward, restoration completed. My preferences, my decisions, my ownership confirmed. I revoked their permissions, filled a glass, and rested solo overlooking the city. Dad messaged regarding Caitlin's hearing. I blocked contact. For over 3 decades, I erased their consequences. That evening, erasure concluded. I didn't merely restore residence, I reclaimed existence.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon so you never miss a twist. Stay tuned to Reddit Tales Times for your daily dose of drama, laughs, and unbelievable stories.